All right, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Shem Shai. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who will teach well. God is true. This is for the Yeshua from the GMS Atlantic Camp. And, through the Spirit, I just want to do this quick live here. Basically, going into, first, let me ask, what brought us into this truth? Well, first and foremost was the Spirit, right? Um, Romans 8:16, the Spirit bears witness. The Spirit of the prophets is subject unto the prophets. So first and foremost, what brought us unto this truth was our spirit. Okay. Now, when we first got brought into this truth, how did we come into this truth? Well, by the spirit of the other prophets that had already been on the scene, right? So what did we end up doing? We inclined our ear, started with the videos, stopped by the camp, and all of this was a process of what? A process of cleansing ourselves from the wicked ways of this world and relearning our heritage, okay? And I want to emphasize a relearning because we had to relearn this truth. But where did that learning come from? Again, it came from prophets that had already been where we were at a specific time. So what does that entail? That means that those that were teaching us at that time had already been through the struggles that we had gone through. And even now, even in this truth, man, there are brothers that have gone through troubles that we may be dealing with, man. Especially our elders and our apostles and bishops who have been in this truth for years. So I'm saying all of this to say this. Remember how we were when we first came into this truth, man. Ready to listen, ready to take correction, ready to be humbled. What's the scripture say? Be ye as children, as little children, man. When you correct a small child, he understands, okay, and then, he fixes it, man. Well, that's how the scripture, that's how Yahweh Shai tells us to be, man. Okay, and so the purpose of this video is because, not to get too much into detail, but, I had I basically had to catch myself, man, because for about 1 second or two, the flesh tried to rise up, man. And, it just goes to show how weak the flesh is, man. And that's what we need. We need those new bodies promised to us in Jeremiah 31:31, man. Because, we don't want to, we understand that the flesh is weak, man, but we don't want to, go off, man. It really does, man. I mean, going off or, being out of line, that really does hurt our spirits, man. We don't want to do these things. And so, with that being said, I felt that it would be, it might be edifying, for me to go back and get some of these precepts, and maybe it might be edifying on to somebody else. So, this is Hebrews 10:25. It says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching. And so we use this precept to make sure that brothers get their fellowship in, man. And that fellowshipping is a very important thing. Understanding that we have that this is not our rest, right? Micah 2:10, right? Understanding that we only have each other, man. I mean, if you can't hang out with the bro and be yourself with the brother, I mean, who what who do you really got, man? Because we can't talk to we can't talk to our co-workers about this truth. We can't talk to our family members about this truth. But we use this precept for that. Making sure that brothers are getting up with each other when possible. But I want to go into that word forsake. That word forsake on the etymology, driving by the way, it says to object or to oppose or to refuse or to deny. So this scripture is used for making sure that fellowshipping happens, but it's also to make sure that the brethren that Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai has put in your lives, whether it's in a group chat or whether it's through a phone call or whatever it may be, don't forsake them. Don't oppose what they have to don't oppose what they have to tell you. In the same manner, when we first came into this truth and we had open ears, man. Let's not get puffed up, man. We're not perfect. We're not there yet. The scriptures talk about having to mortify the members of the body daily, man. We're not there yet. So, forsaking the brethren could go in. I mean, you could be getting up with a brother every Saturday, every Sunday, whenever camp is or whenever your fellowship day is. But if you're hanging out with the brethren every week, being in communication with them, and all you're doing is checking off a box. But then when that same brother tries to, hey man, tries to, give you, some kind of direction, man, don't forsake the brethren. All right, because then at that point, what's the point of getting up with somebody? What's the point of talking to somebody if you're not going to listen to them? Don't forget that the same spirit that maybe the same spirit that's in you is also in him, man. And in different talents, in different methods, man. Let's not get puffed up, man. What's the scripture say? Knowledge puffeth up. Being in this truth, it doesn't matter, whether you've been in this truth for 2 years, 5 years, whatever it may be, man. We are to remain humble. This is James 1 verse 19. It says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear and slow to speak and slow to wrath." So we got to be ready to listen, man. Let's not forget, man. We get into these scriptures to, prophesy the downfall of this whore, man. But let's not forget, man, these scriptures are also for our edification, man. Don't be reading over these scriptures and, forget that you yourself are included in these scriptures, Don't pull James 1:19 and talk about, the so-called black woman or the so-called Hispanic one, and talk about y'all gotta shut up. Well, this scripture applies to us, man. When it's time to get correction, man, we gotta be slow to speak. We gotta be quick to listen too. We ain't got it, and so if you're not gonna listen to the brethren, who are you gonna listen to, man? The brethren have been put in our lives to show us direction, man. Yahushua sent the apostles out in two. Why is that? Because the scriptures say a triple braided cord is not easily broken, man. We need each other, man. Matter of fact, the bishop Taslim, he put that video out. Right now, it's not the time to try to go at this thing alone, man. Right now, it's the time to lock in. So how can you say that you're locked in, but you don't want to listen to a brother's exhortation? Or, if a brother's pushing you, hey, man, make sure that you do this video. Make sure that you get your prayers down. Make sure that you get these tribes down. Make sure that you're doing these 3 videos. Make sure that you're watching what you eat. Make sure that you're walking. Make sure that you're, staying fit. Whatever it may be. How can you say that you're locked in, but you don't want to listen to what the brothers say? Why? Because maybe you've gotten, comfortable. You've gotten comfortable around being with the brethren, man. Don't be that person, man. Don't forget that scripture. A prophet is without honor, even in his own town, man. Don't be like that, man. Don't look at the brethren like he's just a man. He's not a man. That's that same man that probably, gave you the fed you while you were coming into this truth. And now what? Because you're into this truth, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be, man. Now you don't want to listen in because now you got the spirit. Nah, man, that's not how it goes. How should I listen to his father? Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you, man? Who are we? What did Yahushua say? He said, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. Who the fuck are we, man? We got to get in order, man. And we got to get in order, man. Jeremiah, what is that, the 6th chapter? And, I'd be pulling more precepts on the screen if I wasn't driving. But, Jeremiah 6, likens Israel unto a comely woman, man. What's a comely woman? How does a comely woman conduct herself, especially to her bride, to her groom, especially to her groom that is about to take her back after he caught her cheating on him? How are you supposed to conduct yourself, man? Sorry, humble, the scriptures talk about a contrite spirit, man. The scripture says he is close to those of a contrite heart. Not a humble, not a proud heart, but a humble heart, man. That's how we gotta be. How can you say that you're humble unto Yahushua, but you're not humble unto a brother, and the spirit of Yahushua dwells in him? Man, that's John 7, verse 7, man. Let's not forget, man, these scriptures apply to us too, man. Let's not just pull these scriptures out and curse everybody else and not look at the man in the mirror, like Michael Jackson said. I don't even know that song. I just know the title of that song, man. I'm gonna go ahead and start to wrap it up here. This is this is Jeremiah 3, verse 15. I'm glad that I bring my laptop around, man, because I'll be trying to do videos on my phone, and I get so many spam calls. I'll be on a live, and then it gets disconnected. So this is Jeremiah 3 and 15. It says, and I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding, man. And again, these pastors, don't just... This is talking about brethren too, man. Because what is a pastor? A pastor with the knowledge. Okay? Don't take this precept and say, oh, well, I'm only going to listen to what the elders say. If the elders correct me, then I'll listen. But if a brother corrects me, he's got the same rank. Man, fuck that, man. The Spirit dwells in them, man. And I don't mean to be so harsh in speech, man, but sometimes, hey, this video goes for myself and sometimes, us as men, we need a stern speech, man. Doesn't the scripture say that by the fear of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, we persuade? Man, sometimes we need that fear, man. Don't forget, the same brothers that fed you at the beginning are now side by side by you. But just because they're side by side by you, and you begin to spend time with each other, don't start looking at a brother in a different fashion, man. That's a prophet. It's that's the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai in that man. And when that man's talking to you about spiritual things, that's Yahweh Hashem Yahushai speaking to you directly, man. We talk about the famine of the word. How's the famine of the word going to happen when the prophet stop speaking? Well, if you got a prophet telling you, side by side, somebody that you've been standing to side by side, don't let that familiar spirit, blot out what that man's trying to tell you. What the Spirit is trying to tell you. Salakia, what the Spirit is trying to tell you, man. Let's stay humble in this thing, man. And, this isn't for anybody in specific. This is just, like I said, this is, first and foremost for me. So, hey, look, hopefully this has been edifying. Let's stay locked in. Let's stay humble. And until the next one, Shalom.